Hello, everyone. This is JPL, and today I'm joined with.
Jay.
Yes, and we are podcast name in brackets. Now, Christopher cannot join us this month. He's being a responsible adult, working his job and getting all the money. So, yeah, he's busy, so he can't join us for this month. But yeah, me and Jay, we're back here for the monthly edition of our top five, and we are doing the top five films of 1991.
Yeah,
Yes.
interesting year. You claimed that it was shorter than other years, but
I see. I claim that my watch list of what I've watched is shorter than other years, but
you,
yes,
you
take.
you missed the first part of that. Um,
I
yeah,
assumed you would
standard like
understand
your
context, man.
context. Nope. Who is she? But yeah, 91. For the top 10 in the worldwide box office, we actually have a really interesting lineup here. Notably, the only sequel here is Terminator 2: Judgment Day. That's the number one film of the year. But yeah, besides that, we have like a really wide spread of different kinds of movies. We have some family movies with Beauty and the Beast and Hook. Um, the Adams Family makes it in here. Some thrillers, Cape Fear and The Silence of the Lambs, and I think Sleeping with the Enemy. I mean, the pull quote says a classic thriller, so presumably that's a thriller. A couple of Kevin Costner movies, Robin Hood and JFK. So yeah, just a really diverse top 10, the kind of thing we don't really see anymore.
And Hot Shots,
Yes,
whatever
which
that
I have
is.
not seen. That's like a Top Gun parody, I think.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, the Best Picture winner this year is, of course, The Silence of the Lambs. It is the first film, or no, the third film ever to win the Big Five Academy Awards. So that's picture, director, actor, actress, and screenplay. That has only been won three times, and the most recent was The Silence of the Lambs. We also have Beauty and the Beast, the first ever animated feature to get a Best Picture nomination. So pretty significant there.
Is it the first and only, or was there another one?
No, since then, Up and Toy Story have both gotten Best Picture nominations, though those were both in years with 10 nominees.
Okay,
Um,
Up is a choice. I'm.
yeah, that was the first year they expanded back to 10, which is why that one got in, but none of the previous. If they had expanded before then, a lot of the other Pixar movies probably would have gotten in. But Beauty and the
I'm
Beast
sure.
made it with just five spots, so that's very significant.
Very, very significant. Yeah. Forget it. It's a stacked thing. Okay.
Yeah. And the Palme d'Or goes to Barton Fink, the Coen Brothers film, and the Razzie Worst Picture winner is Hudson Hawk, the Bruce Willis movie.
Hmm. Well, let's just get straight into it with our number five.
Yeah, speaking of Best Picture nominees, my number five is The Prince of Tides. This is directed by Barbara Streisand. Yes, that Barbara Streisand, written by Becky Johnson and Pat Conroy, based on Conroy's novel. It's about a man from South Carolina with a troubled past who meets a psychiatrist from New York. The two fall for each other as they unravel the man's repressed memories. Um, yeah, I had a lot of debate over what I would put in this spot. It's been a few years since I saw The Prince of Tides, but I really liked it back when I watched it, and I rated it very highly on Letterboxd. So I'm trusting that assessment here, even though I haven't seen it since then. Um, yeah, Barbara Streisand only ever directed two other films as director, but she always takes up material that sounds like it's going to be a bad idea for a movie on paper, and then somehow makes it work. Um, this is kind of in the 90s, I guess 80s as well, and into the 2000s. There were a lot of these sort of like sappy melodramas that got Oscar Best Picture nominations, and that's kind of what I went in expecting from this one. But this film just really manages to sell the reality of the emotions that these characters are going through, the emotional arcs, the sort of difficulty of that. There's a lot of thorny stuff here, but it's handled very well. While still being, a sappy melodrama. It still checks all those boxes, but Stray said she, as director, she constantly took on this stuff that you're like, oh, this so easily could completely fall apart, but somehow she manages to hold it all together. Really great performances. Nick Nolte plays the lead, and then Barbara Streisand plays this psychologist, and they're both just really great here. Great performances all around. Just yeah, one of those that just should not work, but somehow works and is actually quite good.
And as usual, I have not seen it, so I cannot comment
Have
on
you heard
it.
of this one?
Ah, yeah, no, I don't know.
it's
No,
it's somewhat forgotten.
it's not on the top of my mind
Compared to
at
other
all.
stuff. It does have a Criterion release, which I
I
should
mean,
pick up
good
at
for
some
it.
point.
Good for it. I
Yeah,
recognize Barbara Streisand and Nick Nolte, but
yeah, yeah. Yeah, this reminded me a bit of, Awakenings from 1990, which is another I mean, they're both Best Picture nominees that were directed by women who did not get Best Director nominations, but also they're both, like, could very easily be worse versions of themselves, but the manage to, like, be more emotionally complex than what you're imagining they might be. So,
mm.
recommendation for both, but especially Prince of Tides.
Well, moving on to my number five, I have a Japanese film in Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. This is part of the Heisei era. Now, when I watched all the Heisei Godzillas, they were kind of back to back, and so they kind of all mixed for me. So I'm not 100% sure what this one is about, but it's got King Ghidorah, so it's got some iconic elements. It also is one of the first times we have a returning human protagonist in Godzilla, which
Oh,
is very interesting, and it's a good one too. And I believe her name is Mickey or something. They believe she has ESP abilities, so that's
mhm.
I am stretching my memory for this. There's also some, very wacky time travel shenanigans with really no continuity or butterfly effect. That's a lot of fun. And also, it's the Heisei Godzilla, which means he will both be the hero to save the day and be the monster to destroy the universe. Like it's great. It's Heisei Godzilla. It's a lot of fun, a lot of cool actions. It's a great time. If you haven't seen those films because they were hard to find for a long time, they are now available. Criterion's getting the rights for stuff. And stuff is going to be happening. It's great. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the Criterion Showa era collection, which I have not delved into yet, but I'm plotting my diving into that. So I would at some point like to see more of the Godzilla movies because I don't know, there's something just fun about them. So
Yeah.
this is definitely one that's on my radar as something
We
to check out eventually.
we can do a spin-off podcast series on
I
them.
mean, honestly, I would enjoy that. Just do like a whole kaiju podcast. But that
Oh,
might be a project for a later date.
that's it's also a lot, and like
Yeah, yeah,
watching through all of them in 1 year when I did this was like a lot. It was a daily thing. It was really tiresome. Maybe when we do it, it wouldn't be daily, so it'd be
yeah,
less
yeah,
of a thing. But still, um, I remember liking this one. I rated it high enough. I mean, high
yeah.
stake films are all they're great. They're the peak of practical and special effects in terms of Godzilla films. I'll leave it
Sort of
there.
before CG comes in.
Yeah, yeah. Before like the switch over in the Millennium era. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My number four here is Edward the Second. This is directed by Derek Jarman, written by Jarman, Stephen McBride, and Ken Butler, and it is based on the play by Christopher Marlowe, who was sort of a contemporary of Shakespeare, who then Shakespeare kind of became more famous then and has obviously endured a little bit more in the cultural consciousness. But this is the story of King Edward II, an actual historical figure, and his lover, Piers Gaveston, and the various schemes by members of the court to remove Gaveston from his position as Edward's favorite. Um, yeah, Jarman takes a very anachronistic approach to the text. The costumes are a mix of historical and contemporary. The sets are like these giant cavernous concrete halls with like some industrial stuff scattered around. There's other elements. There's a scene where opposing armies are reinterpreted as queer activists clashing with police. Um, Yeah, it's a very fascinating staging of this play, and it does at times feel like a filmed version of a stage show, though it does have those production design elements that sort of elevate it. Um and yeah, this is also, I mean, Derek Jarman worked a lot with Tilda Swinton early on in Tilda's career, and she just steals every scene she's in here. She plays the Queen Isabel, the jealous queen here, and she's in full white witch mode, just sort of graceful villainy, wearing so many good outfits. But then there are also these like bursts of emotion at just the right time, and she has such a good handle on the dialogue and the delivery, just perfect performance. Um, and yeah, this is a play and a historical figure that I was not at all familiar with. So I'm very glad to have seen this and sort of learned a little bit about this history and about this play, which is, you know, not as well remembered as Shakespeare's plays, but is sort of in a similar vein, released at a similar time, um, but has like a very interesting approach to the history it is telling. Obviously, the play plays a lot of this stuff a little bit more as subtext, whereas this film is then bringing it more forward into text in terms of the relationship between the king and his favorite. But yeah, definitely worth seeking out, especially if you enjoy Shakespeare, and that kind of stuff. Because this is
Mhm.
very, it isn't Shakespeare, but it is Shakespearean.
And of course, I have not seen it, so
Have you, are you familiar with
no,
Charles Marlowe or
I am
Christopher Marlowe?
not.
What's his
I am
name?
not.
Christopher Marlowe. Yeah.
I know Tilda Swinton. I know you really
Yeah.
like Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, I have a vague goal to one day see all of her films. So this is checking off another box. I noticed on Letterboxd I keep track of, it keeps track of like which your most watched actors are, and I was looking at my stats yesterday and saw, oh no, Tom Hanks is currently above Tilda Swinton. So need to catch up on a few more Swintons in order to bump her numbers up a bit.
Is she in more films than Hanks?
No, more that I have seen
Even
at this
still,
point.
like, would you say that if you watched all their filmographies, would she be in more films than Hanks?
No, no. I mean, maybe if you include documentaries, but I don't think those count towards the letterbox stats.
Hmm.
Because she started working, maybe 20 years later than Hanks did. So,
Well,
but she does work a lot.
give it another 20 years. Maybe they'll
Yep.
catch up.
Uh, I have
uh,
joked before of Tilda Swinton. Anytime an internationally renowned director says, "Hey, I'm thinking of making a movie in English," like a narrative feature in English, then Tilda just automatically pops into a room, pen in hand, contract in the other hand, signature already on the contract. She works with some very interesting people, including Derek Jarman early in her career. Um, yeah, this is my first Jarman film, but I am looking forward to diving into more of his work as we do the 90s and 80s and 70s, if we get around to those, whatever we do.
yeah. Yeah. A lot of fun films in those years, but boy, these are a lot of years to get through before we get to those films.
Yep.
Which, speaking of stuff like that, for my number four, I have an Akira Kurosawa film in Rhapsody in August. Man, I just, ever since, I first started watching Kurosawa the past couple years, I would really want to talk about his great films on our podcast. But man, all those films are like so far away in different decades. But it is very interesting that we have films in the 90s by Mr. Kurosawa, who inspired so many of these directors of those times. So, yes, Rhapsody in August is Kurosawa's second film in his 90s trilogy. And yeah, going into this, I had no idea what to expect. Kurosawa could do many things, and in the 90s, which I watched last year, was his Dreams. You get to get a sense of like what he's thinking, because we're getting towards like the end of his career, uh, and so there's a lot more of a similar perspective and theme in those trilogy. But yeah, Rhapsody in August. I see this poster. It looks interesting. They got this person, in the rain with an umbrella. It's all blue, and I'm thinking Rhapsody in August. Maybe it's like a music theme. It's not that at all. It's not that at all. But then I watched the film, and I was really caught off guard because I don't think I'd ever seen Kurosawa depict a modern time. I know, like maybe in the 40s and 50s, they had stuff set at that time, but he's
Yeah.
depicting the 90s, and to me, that's like, whoa. I think of Kurosawa as like a much older time period because he's always doing like different time periods, like doing
Yeah.
samurai and stuff like that. So for him to pick like a modern 90s perspective, especially like modern Japan, it's like, oh, that's interesting. The story, you have these kids who like they really want to go to Hawaii, but their grandmother is like, oh, she's older. It's like, I don't want to go. They're invited by their other great uncle, grandmother's brother, but she doesn't remember her brother, but she's got like 13 other brothers. So the story is about the kids trying to like go back through grandmother's experience to like find out some of her backstory. And what the film is it's an honor of, I believe, Nagasaki or Hiroshima. And the kids are
Okay.
going around to like different parts of the city, seeing like the monuments, the stuff that's left over. So the shot, there's a like really beautiful shot of them looking at like an old school playground that was the only thing standing, and like it's great. They also have like American relatives, and so there's like, as the more and more they go into learning about the history of things, they start to like develop a stigma. It's like, oh, I don't know about our American relatives. They might not like us because of what happens, and like there's growing understandings, and then we get to see the relatives, and like I love what the film does with them and how their perspective just is not what our characters think. And it's like, oh, it's beautiful, it's somber. This film is a reflection and remembrance of the time period, and that's the theme of Kurosawa's trilogy, is a reflection of sorts. Dreams was a reflection of his dreams. Rhapsody in August is the reflection of those who survived, and the generational difference between kids who grew up thinking that those events were just like old fairy stories to scare children and didn't really live through those experiences, and then them learning through it and seeing monuments. There's that interesting scene where they go and they find like a bunch of monuments that were sent to them by different countries, and they notice
Hmm.
it's like, oh, interesting. The only monument not here is from the U.S. Oh, well, of course, they don't want to do that. So yeah, it's a very different Kurosawa film, but you can still definitely feel his style in it. It's interesting. It wasn't one I was expecting to really enjoy, but once I finally went through it, I was like, ah, yes, this is good stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I have not seen this one. I've only seen a handful of Kurosawa films, but that is he is one of those directors who I intend to at some point watch all of his films. Maybe I'll set aside a year and sort of do one a week, the way I've done with other directors. So yeah, this is one. Hearing you talk about it, especially, has me interested to see it for myself and see all of these elements that you're talking about. The sort of reflections on the past, as you were saying. Well, yeah, my number three, speaking of reflections on the past, is Only Yesterday. This is, of course, written and directed by Isao Takahata, and it follows a young woman who takes a break from her city life to visit her relatives in the countryside. And as she works on their farm, she reminisces on her childhood. And it's this very quaint but very touching story, as a lot of Takahata's films sort of are, and just like gorgeously animated. Like the way they depict the Japanese countryside is just so, I mean, yeah, you want to visit there. Um yeah, you feel the care and the attention to detail in every frame of the animation. And then the flashback sequences start sort of experimenting with the style that Takahata would continue to develop in the Yamadas and in Princess Kaguya. So we're getting sort of the seeds of that, while also the more traditional animation style for the present day stuff. And yeah, I mean, this is one of those films that is just very special, very personal. Um, I wanted to rewatch this last night. I had time to watch one movie, and I had to choose between rewatching this and watching Edward II. Um, so that one took precedence since I hadn't seen it before. But this is one where I'm like, oh, I need to rewatch this at some point because give it another go, because I wouldn't be surprised if it jumps up my list when I rewatch it.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid film to watch when you're older and more reflective of the past, so you get to like experience the character and kind of understand what they're going through. Like they're visiting the past and being like, okay, have I been true to what I've been feeling and understanding? And then that helps leads to their final decisions in the end. But
Yeah.
there's one scene that I found really relatable in the film, and it's when the family get a pineapple for the first time, and like they're really excited to try it, and then they're like, "Oh, pineapple!" And then they finally try it, and it's like, "Oh, it's not so good. Like, what is this? It's not what I imagined." And yeah, I have that's how I feel about pineapple. I grew up with like the juices and the pineapple fake candy and such. To like when you finally get pineapple, it's like, oh no, it's not what I want. So
Yeah.
yeah, this also has like a strange dub with Daisy
Okay.
Ridley, who gives such a like soft, whispery performance that just feels weird. I don't know
Okay.
how to say it. It's interesting.
Yeah, I have not seen the dub of this one. I've only seen the I think I saw this before the dub even had come out. Um yeah, this is one of those that was kind of difficult to find because I don't think Disney had given it proper distribution, so it wasn't until G Kids started releasing the Ghibli films that it actually got released in the US.
Mm,
Um
yeah.
yeah, I took a class on in college on, well, specifically Miyazaki, but then we also talked about different Ghibli films. So that's where I saw this one, um, sort of about Japanese culture. So that's why this would fit in. But yeah, no, I mean, this is just an incredible film, as with all of the Ghibli films. Just high level of quality, very specific tone.
Yeah.
Um,
Like of the Ghibli films, it's not high on the totem pole, which really speaks on how well Ghibli
yeah,
films are made. So yeah.
yeah, it has a lot of very good competition for that title. So
Hmm.
I yeah, again, I owe it a rewatch before since I've only seen it the once, and that was several years ago. So I owe it a rewatch before saying where it falls for me on the Ghibli rankings, but topic for a different day.
Moving on to my number three. Speaking of reflections, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. We talked about the last month where in the 90s, like they perfected making a live action Turtles. It's like they understood the homework, and while that film was great, parents were not so happy about it because the film could be a little violent in times, and so this film they toned down some of that. They made it much more lighthearted. And you know something interesting? The turtles don't even use their weapons at all. It's all
Oh,
slapstick humors, and if you're a kid, you don't notice that. Uh, it's still it's still such a fun ride. It's not as amazing as the first one, but it's still very entertaining. It's a live action cartoon. It's silly with so much more slapstick. Um, Here the turtles are like going back and discovering the secrets of their origins from the ooze. You have returning villains. Nothing makes sense. Like it's all chaos, but like there's so many stupid quotable lines in this one that's like you're here for the good time. Like you're not here for like deep character arcs. You're just like, oh yeah, I just want to see uh the Ice Guy, Ice Cube, do not Ice Cube, but the rapper, Ice Guy. I don't know.
Ice Cube is Ice Cube a rapper? I
It's
don't know.
yeah, the other rapper, the white guy. He did the ninja
Oh,
rap. Yeah, forget what his name is, but yeah, just it's silly. It's slapstick. It's a cartoon.
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice, yes,
Okay, sorry, I don't know my rappers apparently.
yes. Well, yeah. Yeah, watch this a whole bunch as a kid. Uh, yeah, I mean it's it's a film, so yeah,
Uh, yeah, this is one obviously on binging Barbie. Whenever we cover My Little Turtles, we will be talking about this one. And yeah, that I am definitely curious to see this one as someone who did not grow up with the turtles. The the puppetry of it kind of fascinates me. I'm curious how I'm going to respond to that.
yeah. And the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
one was done by Jim Henson, like one of his last
yeah.
films that he worked on. The second one, they continue with that one, and then we don't talk about the third one. We'll get to the third one when we get there. So yeah,
uh, well, yeah, my number two is Delicatessen. This is directed by Jean Pierre Jeunet and Marc Caro, written by them and Gilles Adrien. And yeah, Jean Pierre Jeunet, for people who don't know that name just by name, is he's the director of Amelie. Um, but this is his actually his feature debut, along with Mark Caro, and it takes place in a post-apocalyptic future where society has crumbled, and a man accepts a position as a handyman for an apartment building, unaware that the owner of the building is planning to butcher him for food. And then, as this man sort of spends time in the apartments, he forms connections with the various denizens, some of whom start to have second thoughts about chopping him up and eating him. Um, so yeah, as you can imagine from that description, this is a dark and macabre story, but it is very whimsical still. It has a sort of magical realist tone. And it manages this really surprising tonal balance between sort of the macabre, the dark elements, some more like humor, and then some emotional elements. There's some very humanist, some very like, yeah, it can be very beautiful at times while also being very dark and very um, grotesque. It almost has these like fairy tale vibes, these like dark fairy tale, the type of stuff you see from like Guillermo del Toro. Um, which yeah, I just love that kind of stuff. And also just like the production design, this sort of apartment building that's falling apart is just so good production design. Each apartment is very unique in how it's designed and how the characters who live in it, you can tell they have these very different relationships with the apartments. And yeah, it's so well constructed. um it feels like this must have been a major influence on Wes Anderson, not so much the like topics, but sort of the way it approaches these, like, again, the dark whimsy, which is something that Wes Anderson has, and also just the focus on production design. um if you enjoy Wes Anderson and don't mind some of the darker elements here, this is definitely one worth checking out.
once again, I have not seen it, so I cannot comment on it. So
uh,
how unfortunate.
very, very French film as well.
Well,
Very, very
okay,
French.
very French. Yes, yeah. Speaking of French, there's no French in this. Um, yeah. For my number two, I have Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It's nothing personal. Yeah. So the first Terminator, very exciting film, very thriller horror, almost horror with like the Terminator robot being very cool and iconic. And what James Cameron does is does what he always does when he makes sequels, makes it bigger and better, a lot more action, a lot more exciting, visuals that are groundbreaking as well. So here we are having like the earlier era of computer generated animation through the T1000 and its liquid metal form. And a lot of it still holds up. Some of it, is showing its age, but for the most part, it looks incredible. There's a subversion of expectations with what you experienced in the first film. In fact, I don't even know if you need to see the first one. You kind of do. It makes it better. But you could just watch this one, and it's just a really exciting action movie. You got cool stunts, beautiful visuals. The story is great. It's very, it's always very topical. AI, Skynet, all that.
Yup.
Uh, everybody keeps going to this one when we talk about AI. So when that stuff finally happens, we're gonna be like, we told you, we were right. 91 did it. The first Terminator did it. We told you. um, yeah, Schwarzenegger. This is one of his big films. His big film, essentially. Um, I don't know what else to say without getting the spoilers. It's cool. There's some decent emotions in here. Uh, there's a lot of like different directions that they go. It's great. It's great. It makes all the right choices. So yeah.
Yeah, this is one that I had been meaning to get around to for this episode, and then just because I hadn't seen the first one and I needed to watch that one as well, then it's like, okay, well, that's two films that I need to watch. So I wasn't able to get around to it, but yeah, I mean, I will eventually get around to it, obviously, because this is a major franchise in these two films, especially. And I'm a fan of the James Cameron that I have seen, even though I've only seen Titanic and the Avatars. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
oh, and
his
Alien.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Terminator 2, it's constantly on the list of like the best sequels ever made.
Yeah.
Top 10 usually, so it's a solid one for sure. So,
Yeah, no, I am excited to see it when I get around to it, but again, just this month I did not quite have the time to do that, unfortunately.
unfortunately, but you did watch other stuff this month, so yeah, let's talk about
Yeah,
our honorable mentions.
yeah. So I ordered mine alphabetically as I usually do. So first up is Boys in the Hood. This is John Singleton's debut as director, and it's just this very well made, very personal film. Has just a great supporting performance by Lawrence Fishburne. Incredible performance. All of the performances are good, but he really stood out for me. Martin Scorsese's remake of Cape Fear, which just incredible filmmaking. The skies in this film are like nothing else. It's also just the emotions are heightened in all the right ways. It just really worked well for me. Um, then My Own Private Idaho. This is a very beautiful film. It didn't fully work for me, but parts of it really, really hit. Especially River Phoenix's performance. He's just, again, phenomenal performance here. Um, the Naked Gun, 2.5. I would say this one's almost as good as the first. I don't know if that's controversial or not. I saw all three of them. Actually, I saw all four of them, I think, within like a 24-hour period. So they all kind of mashed together. But I did really enjoy this second one. Um, then I have No Skin Off My, which is the feature debut of Bruce LaBruce, who's a Canadian underground queer filmmaker. And yeah, it's like an early John Waters film, but for the 90s. And just has this like, I was unsure based on the premise. I'll let people look up the premise if they're curious. But the film is more satirical and actually funny than I anticipated. It was not what I expected reading the premise, even though it is like the premise is accurate to what it is. It's just it has this sort of satirical and comedic bent to it. Um, this might have honestly made my top five. The two things that were keeping me out of it are one, Christopher isn't here, so we weren't going to be able to have a back and forth about this quite as easily. And then two, I just could not find good images for this because this is like a very underground film. So the versions of it that are available are very low quality. But again, worth checking out if you enjoy like John Waters, early John Waters, I should say. Thelma and Louise, classic crime road trip movie. I owe it a rewatch because I haven't seen it in a few years, but I mean, Ridley Scott, Susan Sarandon, Gina Davis, just iconic film. Then I have another queer underground film, Together Alone. This is very different in tone and style than the other ones that I brought up here, but it follows the conversations between two men after they hook up, and it's more engaging than you might think. The dynamics between them are constantly changing as they talk, and they cover like a wide variety of subjects, but there's a sense of conflict between the two of them. It works really well. I was surprised. And then last up I have Young Soul Rebels. This follows two pirate DJs in the 1970s in London, and sort of touches on issues of race and sexuality and the various subcultures based around music from the time. So, punks, all of that kind of stuff, these various subcultures. And it's very grounded in the era, but with a clear-eyed view of both the bad and the good. There's a sense of danger, but also a sense of joy and a sense of hope, which I really appreciated, because this could easily have been a very depressing film, but it was not.
Hmm. Of these, I have only seen the Naked Gun, Two and a Half, The Smell of Fear. Um, of the Naked Gun trilogy, I think for me the first one is the best one. But of the Naked Gun stuff, the Police Squad show, I think just does all the comedic bits that these films do just much better. Um, it's a sequel. There's a lot of fun stuff, but I whatever. It's stupid fun. Just watch it at your own time. So whatever.
Watch
Yeah.
it with a group of people who enjoy laughing at things. That would be my suggestion with those films. They are very funny, um,
Yes.
but very silly.
Very silly. Onto my honorable mentions. The first one is An American Tale. 50 Goes West. I watched these kids. Sorry, I watched these films when I was a kid, so I don't remember any of this. So I can't tell you what happened in that film. My honorable mentions are just everything that's just left over from my what I watched this year, which is why I said I haven't watched a whole lot. Uh, then I got Star Trek Six: The Undiscovered Country. Just like the Godzilla films, they kind of all mesh together for me. So I think I know what this one is, but I don't remember if I liked it or not. It's been a while. Then we got Hulk, which is Steven Spielberg, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, which is the interesting Peter Pan film where he's growing up and returning to Neverland, and there's a lot of fun stuff there. Dante Bosco's in it. That's something. Then we got The Rocketeer, a very interesting time period superhero thing. I love the aesthetic of it. I like the aesthetic of the choice for the time period and the costume designs and whatnot. I wish they did more with the concept because this is just standalone. And it's like, oh man, you could do more with it. Do more of this time period and this aesthetic. I could see this fitting with Sky Captain or something, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then we have Oscar, which is Sylvester Stallone's attempt at a comedy. This is a remake, I think, of like a French film, which is like based off of a comedic play. It's it's a comedy. It's wacky. It feels like a stage play because it takes place in one location, one house, and they move into different rooms, kind of like how you watch a play and they go to different rooms like that. And it feels exactly like that. It's about like a mobster who wants to go straight because his father tells him to do it when he's dying, and so it's just funny situational comedy of errors where everything goes wrongs. Um, it's unique for Stallone, but I enjoy it because it's Stallone. The poster, I have no idea why he's hanging off the clock there because there's no clock in that film. I mean, time was a factor,
Classic
but
Harold Lloyd bit there.
yeah, yeah, there's no Harold Lloyd reference in that film, so yeah. Then we got Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which is the sequel to Bill and Ted's first one. I like the first one better. Just when you get to see Death, and Death is a fun character. I don't know what else to say. And then lastly, I have the Adams Family 90s remake, which this one's fun. You got a very awesome Wednesday Adams who just has very iconic scenes in both of their films. Um, it's been a while, so I can't comment on everything, but yeah, that's what I've seen.
Yeah, of these I've seen Hook, which I like more than the people who hate it, and I dislike it more than the people who like it. I'm very much in the middle on that one, but there are certain moments. I mean, when he's, I mean, spoilers, but I mean, it's a Peter Pan movie. When he's flying over Neverland and the James Williams score is hitting, or John Williams score is hitting, like, you can't not love that.
Of
The
course.
Rocketeer, I found it a little bit slow paced, but as you were saying,
Yeah.
the aesthetics are great. Jennifer Connelly gets to do a lot of fun stuff in it. Always fun to see her do stuff. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I thought when I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it had aged really, really well. Bogus Journey has not aged quite as well. There's some humor that's like, yeah, has not aged quite as well. But as you were saying, we get death here and such a fun performance, like such a fun character. Very worthwhile addition, even if the film as a whole doesn't hold up quite as well. And then yeah,
Yeah.
the Adams Family. I just a few years ago I watched some of the show, and I actually have the DVD, so I need to keep making a bigger dent in that. But I love just the sensibilities, and this movie does a good job sort of bringing that into the 90s, having this sort of macabre sense of humor. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Angelica Houston, all of the performances are so good here. They just capture the characters really well. I'm looking forward to, because I've heard that Adam's Family Values is even better, and I'm excited to see that one
Okay.
in a few months, whatever that is.
Whenever. Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about our number ones then?
Yeah, so my number one is The Silence of the Lambs. This is directed by Jonathan Demme, Best Picture winner, obviously, written by Ted Talley, based on the book by Thomas Harris. And for people who aren't aware, this follows Clarice Starling, who is a talented young FBI agent, and she assists in an investigation to track down a serial killer. And her work brings her into contact with Hannibal Lecter, who is a psychiatrist and a serial killer himself. Um, yeah, it's a really odd film when you take a step back and look at it. The book it's based on is actually a sequel. This is not the first book in the series, though this movie is a standalone movie. Although I think they tried to make like a sequel and a prequel at some point with Anthony Hopkins, but didn't go over all that well.
Nobody
Um,
talks about those.
yep, yeah. But this is just like, it's also like a thriller, but with a prestige reputation. Like, it's very artfully made, but the premise just sort of draws in a wide audience. This was in the top 10 box office of the year. This was a massive hit financially, and obviously awards and critics. I will say that, like, um when I was sort of first hanging out with my friends in college and learned that a lot of them are fans of true crime, I'm like, hey, let's watch Silence of the Lambs, and they all loved it. So this appeals to the same sensibilities that like true crime stuff appeals to, while being like very artfully made. And I think a lot of that is just centered on these two really good performances. We have Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins just knocking it out of the park. Every scene between them, every scene featuring them, they embody these characters so well. And yeah, it's like iconic. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, one of the villain performances of all time, and it's not a comic book or sci-fi movie. Like, how many other examples are there of that?
Yeah. They keep trying to reference it and like recreate this type of villain. Like even down to like the mask covering the face. It's like
Yeah.
there's a reference in that in the latest Snake and Gun film. Um
Yeah. I mean,
that's
there's a reference to that in the latest Zootopia film.
well, yeah. Yeah.
It's such a it like broke through to a wider audience and continues to be popular and influential in a way that is kind of odd, because this is like this crime thriller, this very disturbing film at times.
Yeah. Even the poster itself is like very iconic. Just the face with the pale face with the moth
Yeah.
on it is just it's iconic horror design that like I've seen redone as cover art for other stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's a bizarre one, but it stands out in its own way. It's a film that you grow up and you see it on a bunch of lists on like some of the best stuff out there, like best performance, best villains, the best whatever, and finally watching it, it's like okay, yeah, it's a film, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I would say it is. Watching it for the first time, I was just struck by, oh, this is just kind of undeniable. It's one of those
Mm,
classics where you watch it and you go, I completely understand why this is a classic. Like, this has aged incredibly well. It still works, it is still tense and thrilling today, and but it has also, like, broken containment into be this bigger cultural phenomenon that, again, how many other films from this year could really claim that? It's really this and Terminator 2 and maybe your number 1 film as well.
Sure, but yeah, with this, like, it has like the iconic performance with Anthony Hopkins, and like that's just a stand-up performance that steals the scene, even if they have limited screen time. Like, that's a character that's so iconic, but their screen time is so limited. Like
Yeah.
that just shows the powerhouse of performance and just how the character's treated. Um, but there's also something that I found particularly interesting when watching this, and it's that the camera work is it's set at the eye level of our protagonist of Clarice, and Clarice is a shorter person, and so they do a bunch of interesting stuff from the character's perspective of like people looking down at you and them looking more at the camera. It gives you the same eeriness as the character is going through. Maybe not fully the same because, different people and all, but
Yeah.
um they try their best to make you feel as uneasy as our characters feel, to feel like the underdog, and they do that really well with how they've placed the camera. It's not something that they do all the time, but like when it's there, it's very unique and noticeable.
Yeah, that's the thing of, like, you don't think of this immediately as, like, one of the best shot films out there just because it is, it doesn't have these, like, big wide vistas or anything like that, but no, it is just, like, the subtleness of the cinematography and the things that you're pointing out just really work in the film's favor and give it this artistry that, a lot of these types this is sort of a worse version of this would be more like in line with like The Girl on the Train or that style of thing. But because of the artistry and because of the performances, it's elevated beyond that level. And so you still have the appeal of like The Girl on the Train of this sordid thriller with these big sequences and this violence and this threat of stuff and the true crime stuff. Not obviously not based on true crime here, but you do also have again that artistry and the intentionality of everything. It's just the kind of film that just kind of appeals to everyone who can enjoy a thriller.
Yeah. I know that you and I joked around by watching like the different fan edit clips of like the Clarice and Lecter scenes, but re-edited as like a romance. So yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of romance, uh
Yeah.
moving on to my number one, we have Walt Disney Pictures Beauty and the Beast, 1991. Um yeah, Beauty and the Beast. If you asked me like 5, 10 years ago to do this list, I don't know if I would put Beauty and the Beast on it because I really think that the further away that you have watched the film, and especially when you bring in like the live action remake, there is something about how everybody hypes up Beauty and the Beast that makes you feel like, oh yeah, yeah, maybe the film's overrated. But then in the past couple of years, I rewatched the film, and it's like, oh no, not at all. It's not overrated at all. It is a really good film, and I think the live action film just kind of ruins it in a sense where, because that one exists and there's like too much hype and such, it kind of breaks away how good this film is in a sense. I don't know if I'm describing it correctly, but for so long I kind of felt it's like, oh yeah, Beauty and the Beast, yeah, yeah, yeah. I grew up with it. It's good, but I feel like it's overrated just because of just how popular the live action one was. And yeah, I did a Disney Diary thing where I watched through all our Disney animated films and I rewatched this one, and it's like it was the best film of my rewatch. I liked it so much, especially after going through the theater department. getting my degree and seeing how all the theater kids grew up watching the Disney Renaissance films and they always sing the songs. And I watch this and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. This film translates so well into a musical. It's great. The songs are great. I like the story. It's just simple and timeless. I've seen this story redone in fan works. Um, specifically My Little Pony fan works. It's ridiculous, but hey, it's a really solid story. It's got very imaginative characters, great character designs. Um, yeah, it is one of Disney's best films, if not their best, honestly.
Yeah, I think this is the pinnacle of Disney animation, specifically when it comes to like the Disney princess movies. Because the
Yeah.
early princess movies struggle to fit sort of shorter fairy tales into a feature length runtime. So you end up with this like very wonky pacing, and like the dwarves in Snow White or the fairies in Sleeping Beauty pull focus from the main story for long stretches of time, just to kind of fill space in order to hit that feature runtime. Um, and then, sort of post Renaissance, you have the princess movies suddenly have this obligation to fit into a more corporate formula. You know, the Disney princess brand is a thing, so they have to have like the animal sidekick, and they have to have all of these things, and there's like less of a sense of danger. And then there's also this like post Shrek irony poisoning that comes in, especially with Frozen, but a little bit with all of them, of just like, oh, we need to sort of lampshade the tropes we're using.
Yeah.
There's sincerity to them. And then there also, I mean, the CG animation. Disney does very, very good CG animation. I kind of wish they would go back to doing 2D every once in a while because it just looks so gorgeous. Yeah,
Mhm.
Beauty and the Beast just has like, it hit at the perfect time. It has some of the bigger sense of danger, some of the more the 2D animation, the artistry of that. But then it is also, it's a little bit more modern. It's bringing in more modern storytelling. It has a better like balance of characters where you don't feel like the supporting characters are completely taking over the movie. Um, and yet then on top of that, we have the work of Howard Ashman as songwriter. I think he is in many ways the auteur of this film. Obviously, there's a whole lot of cooks in this kitchen, um, a whole lot of people who deserve credit, but his work as songwriter in this and in Aladdin and in The Little Mermaid just adds so much depth to the characters and the emotions. Like, this is a romance in a worse version of this film. Um, the Stockholm syndrome thing, which everyone brings up, which isn't true if you actually watch it. They are very careful in how they do that, but like a worse version of this film, that criticism would 100% stick. But because of the songs, you get the sense of like character progression and their emotions and the way they feel. It makes the romance actually work in a way that it
Mhm.
wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's incredible when
The
Howard
songs are
Ashman
all a
does.
bop too. It's like I don't think
Yeah,
there's a bad song in this. It's like they're all
no,
iconic. All iconic. It's great. It's it's rare that every single song is like top tier in one of these films.
yeah.
Man, I really wish that the satirical nature of the 2000s and 2010s didn't spoil my perception of this film. Uh,
I think this one though has been a little bit spared from all of that. Um, I think more of the online criticism kind of, but the thing is, like the online criticism, like the whole Stockholm syndrome thing, is a criticism that only works if you haven't seen the film in the last 5 years.
yeah. I mean, all the
Because
criticisms
the
that
way,
I've
yeah,
experienced is like all based on a live action film. And then
yeah,
I subconsciously implement all that onto this one without even watching this one. And that shouldn't be doing that. Even though I know that's not true. It's just like it just happens. And then it's like, oh yeah, Beauty and the Beast, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then you actually experience it and you're like, oh, holy smokes, what am I thinking? I'm an idiot. This is top tier storytelling and music and animation. What am I thinking? What am I doing? I yeah, just watch this film. Even if you have a stigma, just watch the film. watching it is so much different than hearing about it, honestly.
I also did just want to say, Howard Ashman passed away before the film had even premiered, and I think so much of the later half of the Disney Renaissance was trying to make up for that loss. And just, I mean, Beauty and the Beast is sort of his final work as a creator. Aladdin was, he had written some songs for Aladdin, but that was completed after he had passed away. And yeah, I mean, to this day, Disney keeps trying to, they remake this one, they remake The Little Mermaid, and I don't think they found a creator quite on the level of Howard Ashman as a songwriter in terms of just, yeah, the perfect way this comes together as a musical.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is one. I was in between this and The Silence of the Lambs for my number one movie, and since you had put this in your number one, then I'm like, okay, I'll let you have this as your number one, and I'll
Oh yeah.
put
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs on my list. But both of these are in my like top 20 of all time.
Hmm.
So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
difficult choice to make, but I ended up, since you were going to be talking about this one, I was like, okay, I'll put Silence of the Lambs at number one on my list. But they both deserve to be number one on my list.
Honestly. Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Moving on. Let's talk about our least favorite films. Now, I'm gonna forego my choice because I honestly don't have one. So, I'll
Okay.
just leave it to you.
Yeah, so mine is one where like I debated whether to do this one or not just because I don't know. Again, I haven't seen that many films from 1991, so this is just the one that stuck out to me as the one that I could actually say something about in terms of talking about it as the worst. But this is JFK, Oliver Stone's JFK, Best Picture nominee in the top 10 at the box office. This is another one that's, it's kind of weird that it was as popular as it was, but this is a heavily fictionalized story of a New Orleans judge who begins using his powers to investigate the assassination of JFK sort of several years after it has happened. um, from a pure filmmaking perspective, everything else ignored, this is a surprising accomplishment. It's
Yeah.
a 3 hour long talkie drama with tons of archival footage, very few actual characters. Like, there are a lot of characters in this, but they don't have like character traits. They're just kind of like, they just say things. Um, and like the few characters who actually like leave an impression are painted with like very broad strokes. When Kevin Bacon walks into this movie, you're like, I understand everything about this character immediately based on just how he enters. Very fun role. The film dislikes that character a whole lot. Um, but yeah, no, this is somehow still incredibly watchable. The way it is edited, the way it is put together. Like, there's a reason this is a Best Picture nominee. There's a reason this was in the top 10 at the box office, despite all of these things. Um, the, that said, like, this is filmmaking that is in service of something I just can't really get behind. I don't know a ton about the JFK assassination. After watching this film, I feel like I know less, because I do know that this film is sort of massaging the truth to fit its bigger narrative. Um, so I don't really trust anything that the film is saying, because it is so heavily fictionalized. And then on top of that, sort of, this is a very conspiracy theory heavy film,
Hmm.
and the leaps in logic it is making, the things it is like filling in, like, yeah, it is not an accurate source for information on that. um I don't need to know. Like, the JFK assassination is relatively low stakes as conspiracy theories go. Nonetheless, watching this, I began to realize just how much the style and the mindset of this film have influenced modern and more dangerous conspiracy theory movements. um I was recognizing like the editing patterns and the way characters were speaking as like, oh, this seems like stuff. I don't watch conspiracy theory stuff directly, but I follow, ContraPoints. Natalie Wynn has done some research into that. Dan Olson, Unfolding Ideas, has done some like videos on that type of thinking, and so I've seen snippets of conspiracy theory stuff, and it's like, this is the editing, this is the way they talk, is this film sort of as this text for conspiracy theories on the internet. And yeah, in that sense, it's like, oh, it's kind of difficult to watch this today after the last 10 years of what conspiracy theories have become, and see it as anything other than like, yeah, I don't know.
It's
On the one hand,
yeah.
I want to be like, okay, this is like on a filmmaking level, this is an achievement. But then on the other hand, like it is an achievement for something that I think has been a negative impact on the world.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed this from a filmmaking perspective. Like, it is 3 hours that's just told really well. You also have, like, a John Williams score that's, like, very good.
Yep.
Um, the most exciting part of this film was that Donald Sutherland scene where it just shows up and,
Yeah.
like, throws out all of this stuff that's like, "Oh, man, that's really cool how all of that is edited together."
Yeah.
True or not, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Probably not, but it's interesting how everything comes together. I wish there was more truth, but it's like, yeah, I get it. You're trying to make a film. It's Oliver Stone just has a very interesting perspective on things. Very patriotic man. You watch all of his films, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I wondered I wonder what living in this particular time period when this came out would have been like
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
like, okay, because we have 30 years later seeing how this is kind of influenced conspiracy theory stuff today. I wonder what it's like back then. Would this have been like so new? And
I feel like it must have been.
yeah.
Like not necessarily what they're talking about, but the editing of it, the way it is presented, and yeah. I mean, again, this was like a massive film. This was a huge hit.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
yeah, for me again, with the modern perspective, like yeah, I have a hard time imagining what it would have felt like at the time, which is maybe why this didn't work for me
Because
in
I'm
that way,
sure
even
there's a
just
lot more subtext that's just more so relevant of that specific time period.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it does feel like that a lot of Oliver Stone's films, specifically the 90s and 80s, are about very specific things and reference very specific things that are happening at that recent time period. And because I have no knowledge of that time period, really, and I've not lived through it, it's like I can't appreciate it at its fullness because he has another film, Born on the Fourth of July. I like the
yeah.
John Williams score, but like I have no idea who that historical character is. I've never taught that in school. I Yeah, it's complicated. I want to understand the perspective, but I can't because I wasn't there. And history is just there's too much history to really get a deep dive into everything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And for me, like I could research into the JFK assassination and try and parse, what in the film is just completely made up, what is sort of hinting at truth. But I don't care enough about that. So just watching it, I was just kind of exhausted with the waves of information that were just like nothing. But yeah, I don't know. I kept thinking of the final scene of Bug, which is it was on my list for 2006, one of my favorite films of that year. So spoilers for that film, but that film ends with a scene where one of the characters is sort of going on a conspiracy theory spiral, and the way she talks and the way this film talk are like the connections between those two are very fascinating, and the way that like in JFK it's presented as this heroic triumph when he's in front of the court and he's weaving this whole narrative, and then in Bug it's treated as like this tragedy as this woman is spiraling out of control. um yeah, just interesting framing there, and sort of years of perspective maybe coming in and changing things. But yeah, again, this is maybe a bit mean to put this as the worst film of this year. I don't hate it. I just watching it felt very uncomfortable.
Okay. Again, from a filmmaking perspective, like it's very watchable. It's
Yeah,
very yeah, it's very interesting to watch. And again, John Williams, good score, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what we got for 1991. Interesting year of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully next time, Christopher will have time to join us for our 1992 picks. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for
Looking forward
watching.
to seeing our list.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.